Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very exciting video to get into because we have the rumors, updates, and news and the leaks, and it's just like, what do I even expect anymore? Sometimes I think, when I do my research, I'm going to find something that's kind of interesting and a little exciting. Not like today, man. I'm talking about another massive Zelda remake potentially leaking out, more crazy Switch 2 stuff, and yeah, you're not going to want to miss this one. Let's go and get right into this video. Like I was saying, rumors, updates, news, and leaks, all the good stuff. And the thing about leaks is Nintendo really doesn't like it. But honestly, I don't care. I'm gonna keep talking about these leaks because I really like to.
FBI, open up!
Miyamoto, no. Please, no.
Okay, maybe we should keep some of these leaks on the hush hush. So if you're here, consider yourself lucky. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. I think we're like 100 subscribers away from 33,000. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep the communities growing. Let's just go and get right into this one. So the first thing I want to do is talk about a deal. This is my thing on the weekends. I tell you guys where you can pick up great games for cheap. But now we're talking about an accessory as well as other accessories, I believe. So currently, right now at GameStop, at least at the time of recording this video, the Nintendo Switch 2 camera, like the one that came out day one with the Switch 2, I believe was $50 when it came out. Right now, it is only $10 at GameStop. On the website, it says add to cart to be able to see the price, but as soon as you add it to the cart, it will say subtotal $9.99. With shipping, it's like 18 bucks or whatever, but I think you can also pick it up in store for free. So like I said, at the time of recording this video, this is here. It might not be when this video releases, but honestly, I feel like it will be. And it's just so funny that Nintendo spent so long in the Nintendo Direct like, hey, you guys know cameras? Well, you can attach one to your Switch 2. Isn't that nifty? But I just don't think people really care that much. Unfortunately, maybe as time goes on, they'll do some cooler stuff with it and maybe release like different variants like that Piranha Plant. Maybe Nintendo can do something like that themselves. But if you're interested in getting that camera, it's only $10. And if I'm not mistaken, you can also use this camera probably to like stream with or something. So I just think it's a great pickup for 10 bucks. Now, I also want to talk about a game that came out, I think, July 3rd, 7th, something like that. I can't even remember anymore. But Rhythm Heaven Groove. So we knew that this is potentially going to be one of the last Switch games, right? And I was curious, how much do people really care about this? Because I'm not saying it's a bad franchise, but I think it's pretty niche, right? We got Tamagotchi Life, which is kind of niche, but a little bit more popular. But how do people feel about Rhythm Heaven Groove? Will this be a game that just releases and nobody talks about it? Or will this game do really well? And it seems to be the latter. So just keep in mind, this is only first week launch figures for Rhythm Heaven Groove in Japan, and that's for physical units, not even including the eShop. And the game sold almost 400,000 units in 1 week in Japan alone. So combined with the rest of the world and eShop numbers as well, this game might have sold almost 1 million copies in a week, and that is absolutely staggering. At least like 700,000 or 800,000. It's almost like taking over Metroid Prime 4 numbers already. So I just love games like this. Something I didn't even pick up, but I love games like this doing good because it encourages Nintendo to keep releasing weird and whimsical stuff, and that's awesome. Now, we have a game leak as well, before we get into the other bigger updates, that I don't know anything about. And after doing some research, apparently this is like one of the best games of 2024, I believe. And I also think it might have released on the Switch as well, but I just never knew about it. But the game is called 1000 Resist. This game just leaked out for the Nintendo Switch 2 through the ESRB ratings. So this is just so weird that we have another massive game like this leaking out for the Switch 2. But these games are just not coming out. Like, we've seen truly like 20 games be rated and nothing happening. So we could potentially get another Nintendo Direct sometime this month. I've been feeling like a partner showcase / indie world type of Direct just makes sense. And that would hold us over until like September or something. Because there's so many games that feel like they need big announcements through a big platform, not just shadow dropping in a random trailer or something. So yeah, I don't know much about this game, but it seems very interesting. Everybody said the story is incredible. So hey, it might as well just show up on the Switch too, now that it's leaked out. now that we got some of this quicker and still interesting updates out of the way, we have quite a video to get into, like the rest of the video. So first, we're going to talk about a rumor about why we're not seeing some of these other big games that you would expect to be on the Switch 2, or at least announced for the Switch 2, but there's been no mention of them. Now, I've always thought it's similar to kind of Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor. Like, it's kind of tricky because of when the Switch 2 came out, but with Persona 4 Revival, you would think, okay, it was shown off, I think, at the Xbox showcase, and then maybe on the PlayStation State of Play as well. And then we got the Nintendo Direct, and you're like, okay, well, they didn't say anything about the Switch 2 in those other presentations, so they'll save it for the Switch 2 presentation, but it just didn't happen. Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor are coming to the Switch 2, or like Persona 3 Reload did, and now we're getting Metaphor later, but it was well after the games had already released. Now, we also seen a Persona 6 trailer, I believe, at the Xbox showcase, but that was it. And it wasn't like a real trailer. It was just saying, hey, Persona 6 is in fact a thing. So the question is, why is Persona 6, which is not really a question in itself, but that, and more importantly, Persona 4 Revival, why are these not being announced for the Switch 2? Which would arguably, I guess besides PlayStation, be the most popular place to play these games, or at least Persona 4 Revival. Why is there no mention of the Switch 2? Well, maybe we have an answer to that. So currently there is a rumor going around that Xbox would be blocking the arrival of the Nintendo Switch 2 versions of Atlas games like Persona 4 Revival and Persona 6. I'm not sure who this rumor initially came from. Maybe Nash Wheel or something. I think I've seen a couple of articles here and there. Now, do I think this rumor is true? I do and I don't. Because Atlas and Nintendo have a fantastic relationship, and when you think of the Switch 2, besides the first party stuff, you think of JRPGs, right? The Switch was a powerhouse for JRPGs, and the Switch 2 is doing the same thing. Final Fantasy, Persona, we have Metaphor coming up, we have a million other just niche JRPGs as well. There's so many. So why would we not get these games? Now, as far as I know, and I could be remembering wrong or read something wrong, I think one time I read or heard that Xbox owns the marketing right to Persona in the West. I don't know how true that is. So if that is true, then maybe there is some truth to them like blocking it or making it. I mean, it wouldn't even be a timed exclusive because it's obviously going to be on PlayStation and Xbox at the same time. But maybe they're just so petty. They're like, hey, the only way we're going to put this on Xbox is if you delay it coming to the Switch 2 by 2 years or something. If it launched day one on all consoles, and maybe people have both, like the Xbox and the Switch 2, they're gonna be like, well, I'll just pick it up on the Switch 2. You know, it's gonna be more fun to play it handheld or whatever. So I don't know how true this is, but I do think there is something, maybe not nefarious going on, but there is something goofy going on. Hopefully it will get announced for the Switch 2, man, because I cannot wait to play it, truly. But I don't want to play it on my PS5. I want to play it on the Switch 2. Now, let's get into a new Zelda leak, right? We know Ocarina of Time remake is coming out later this year. That's amazing. We also know that it's the 40th anniversary. We'll probably see some kind of Zelda something, and we'll see the first Zelda movie trailer. I'm thinking another Zelda game will get announced as well. Or something, I don't know. Maybe like the Oracle games get remade. Hopefully not the Minish Cap. I think the Minish Cap is perfect. But there's something else Zelda related in the pipeline, right? Besides Ocarina of Time remake and whatever the next mainline Zelda game is. Well, potentially we know what that next Zelda game could be. And it's another remake of a very popular game. So according to the latest rumors, Nintendo may be preparing to move forward with the remake of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for the Switch 2. Recently, the IMDb page for Nobuyuki Hiyama, which I don't really know who that is, Adult Link and Ocarina of Time, was updated to include the mention of Majora's Mask remake. Some fans saw this and ran with it, taking it as a leak that the game is in development, but in reality, anyone can update these IMDb pages, so it doesn't really mean anything. But even though this leak could be disregarded, that doesn't mean Majora's Mask remake is off the table. Now, look, I am a Zelda fan. It is my favorite franchise of all time. Behind me on the shelf where I record videos, there's an entire section dedicated to The Legend of Zelda. I even have niche stuff like some of the artwork cells for some of the DS games. Like, I love Zelda. Majora's Mask is one of the few games I've never beat. I got like 8 hours into it on the Switch last year after trying to play it a million times. And I can't remember why I stopped, but I do need to eventually beat it. But even as somebody who doesn't really care about Majora's Mask at all, and I know you either like don't like it or you absolutely love it. That's kind of how this game is. Even as somebody who doesn't care, I think Majora's Mask is incredibly important to the Zelda franchise. I think it has some of the coolest artwork and characters and some of the coolest stuff. Not a big fan of the clock mechanic resetting, although I heard it was better on the 3DS, or maybe I heard wrong. But I do think if any game needs a remake, I think it is Majora's Mask. And you have to remember, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask came out like 2 years apart, and they basically use the same engine. So if they did the same thing on the N64 and the 3DS, why would they not do this on the Nintendo Switch too? Well, they probably would, you know, like the A team working on the Ocarina of Time remake and a B team in early development for Majora's Mask. So even though this isn't a definitive leak, I honestly just feel like this is something that's going to happen, that needs to happen, and just makes a lot of sense because it's so freaking cool, man. Like I said, even though I'm not a fan of Majora's Mask, but maybe that will change once I beat the game, so it's something I need to do this year. I just think it is so damn cool. It is so unique, it is so weird, it is so different, and I would love to see it get the same treatment as the Ocarina of Time remake. And the last thing we're talking about today is arguably some of the most important because, again, it shows the power of the Switch 2 and how great this generation is going to be. And, you know, what we have right now, right? I have my Switch right here in the dock. What this was day one is incredible, but it can always be improved upon. And as this generation goes, that will happen. We'll probably get something, you know, with a better screen eventually, which is already kind of leaking out, a new LCD. Then eventually we'll probably get the OLED, maybe a Switch 2 Lite, something with a better battery. They'll just keep improving it as much as they can. We'll get the version 2, possibly even a version 3. But one place where the Nintendo Switch 2 already shines is when you dock it to the TV. It feels like a real home console, competing with a lot of the competitors, or I guess all the competitors already. Maybe it's not just as good as a PS5, but damn it, is it good. But guess what? That dock is probably going to get a lot better. So a new Nintendo job listing suggests docked VRR support for the Switch 2 may still be in the works. And I believe like 3 or 4 months after the Switch 2 came out, this was a big conversation. Like, why does a dock not have VRR support, which is variable refresh rate? And I think it was Bob Wolf from Wolfed In saying that it does. They just don't have it turned on or something. I remember him explaining something about it. And that would be huge, you know? That would really boost a lot of these games even further. It would, I mean, I sound like a fanboy, but technically, you know, kind of am. It would really start etching that Switch 2 out into its own lane. You know, it's always going to get compared to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. But something I always tell people is like, bro, you have to remember it as a handheld console. Now, when it's docked to the TV, sure, it's a little bit more of a closer comparison. But if it does have VRR support, we just need to put it in its own lane entirely. I don't know if that would come through as a firmware update. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that would work. Or would that come with a new dock with the version 2 Switch? Maybe somewhere down the line. Maybe that would be a selling point when they drop the Switch 2 OLED. The Switch 2 OLED has a better screen, a bigger battery or better battery, and the dock also has VRR support. But you could also buy that dock separately or something for like $120. I really don't know how that would play out, but I do think it's something we're definitely going to see in the next 12 months. And it's just going to be freaking awesome, man. I'm somebody who has played my Switch 2 docked to the TV 5 times or less. I really just prefer handheld because I also have a PlayStation 5. So when I'm playing something on the TV, it's normally on my PS5. But if there was VRR support for the Switch 2 dock, it would really entice me more to sit down and play my Switch 2 docked to the TV. So just right now, think about what we have so far with the Switch 2 and keep in mind, as the generation goes on, it's going to get even better. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Because your opinion matters most. I told you, man, this video is all over the place, but it is freaking crazy. It's awesome. There's amazing leaks, rumors, updates, news. We got it all, man. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you guys, truly. And if you made it all the way to this part of the video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe on the way out. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter on the way out, and consider becoming a channel member. And you guys know me. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.